welcome back to my channel. My name is Kaylin. This is Full Purpose and Heart, and I am the creator of the book study guide for the Bee Tree. This video is going to be a walkthrough of that resource so that you can see how I used it. Maybe you're here from Teachers Pay Teachers and you've purchased the resource, or you've just stumbled on this video through being a subscriber or through the YouTube algorithm. Whatever brings you here, I welcome you, and I'm going to show you this resource so that hopefully you'll get some ideas on how you can use it in your family. A little introduction if you are new to the book study idea. Book studies are an approach to teaching your kids through literature. You're going to pick a book, any book. It can be a picture book or a chapter book or any kind of book that you want to use. And then using that book, you're going to pull out various teaching strategies and teach them language arts or science, math, history, all kinds of fun things that you can get just from the topics found in a book. I've been doing this with my kids for about a year now, and it is the funnest way for us to learn. So I've decided to start sharing some of my resources that I'm making for my kids with you. Book studies are appropriate for kids usually in the second grade level to probably about fifth grade. The older kids, I usually have them teach my little ones. So I have them read the story and then I'll have them kind of guide some of the activities. That's how I include and kind of do book studies with them. Writing activities are always good for the older grades too. You can just ask them to write a more developed essay as opposed to just like a little narrative. And then the really little kids are always fun to just kind of tag along. They love listening to stories, and of course they're gonna love learning about the characters and talking about the characters. It's never too early to start sharing those ideas and those story elements with your little kids. So to create an actual book study notebook, I recommend that you start in about second grade, and then you might wanna wrap it up around the fifth grade level. I have not yet figured out how to get my oldest son, who's in seventh grade, to be excited about making these notebooks. So that's my recommendation for an age group. The next step is to find a book. Obviously, you have picked the Bee Tree to be your first book, but there's a billion options that you can do. When I very first started book study, guys, I was just going to the library and pulling a book from the picture bookshelf, thumbing through it to see if I liked the story enough, and then building something from that. What I heard most from the internet people is lots of people are very excited about book studies, but they don't know how to do it, which leads me to this video. I have created an outline that you can do so that when you approach these book studies with your family members, then hopefully it will be easy and fun and a good product that you can create to show for either a portfolio or for your own keepsakes and that sort of thing. Another question that I do get sometimes is, can this be used in a public school setting? And the answer is absolutely yes. It's a little bit more difficult because as a teacher, you don't want to invest in a million notebooks that you can use, that the kids will use. So I would recommend just having them put their pieces, when I'm going to show you the pieces, just have them put their pieces on a piece of paper and then store those pieces of paper all together. And then you can bind them however you wish with staples or yarn or whatever, and put a piece of construction paper on the top to make it that notebook idea. That way it's a lot less expensive and you can just make however many copies of the kids' notebooks that you need. Go through the activities together and then have them each create their own notebooks. And then if you want to do multiple notebooks, then they'll have a little stack. Or if you just want to do one book study for your year, then that works too. So yes, it is appropriate for large groups of kids, whether it's a co-op or a public school setting, or you have a bunch of kids at home that you're teaching from the neighborhood or whatever it is, you can do this with a lot of kids. So anyway, without further ado, let me show you what you get when you get the download. So first and foremost, the only resource that you need is the story of the Bee Tree. And you can get this at your local library or whatever book distributor you choose to buy from. But the Bee Tree is a story by Patricia Palaco. I don't know how you would say her name. Okay. It's just a very short, cute little story. Again, the text is really great, so your older students can read it to younger ones if you want to, and it has great illustrations. The next thing that you're going to get is, well, you're going to get a bunch of papers about your how to get started. So you can read all of those, and there will also be a table of contents that you can do. And on the very first page in the front here, you'll put your table of contents page so that then you can write down, if you're going to do multiple book studies in the same notebook, then you can write down the table of contents, okay? Then you have your teacher's guide is the next section of pages, and all of the teacher's guides are going to be organized the same for all of my book studies across the board. So what you're going to get is on the first page, there's going to be a list of the different activities that are included in that teacher's guide. Sometimes there's 6, other books may have as many as 10 activities. These teacher's guides are created in a way that you can pick and choose. They're supposed to be super flexible, so you do not have to do all of the activities. Of course, you're welcome to do all of the activities, but if something doesn't jive well, or you're running out of time, or your kids aren't interested in it, then you can, of course, skip it and move on. So I also have put a couple of pictures here that kind of demonstrate how I set them up in my book, but you can set them up in your book however you choose. And then we have the actual lesson plan or activity plan. And I've divided this up into 3 sections. The first part is the introduction section. This is the area where you get to introduce the topic or the idea to your kids. And I've really tried to formulate it in a way that you can read it as the teacher and then prepare yourself so that then you can go and teach your kids. It's not really a dictation. It's not set up as a dictation where you can just read it directly to your kids, because I don't think that that's the best way to teach or to learn. I feel like you need to engage a little bit more than just reading text off of a piece of paper. But for example, it will say, guide the students through a discussion of the story by helping them identify its key elements. Begin by asking, who are the main characters in the story? Encourage students to name, and then I'll list a few of the names of the characters in the story. Next, ask, where does it take place? So as you're walking through this, you can either put it on a whiteboard or however you want to do it. If you have little manipulatives, you want to write on each of those little manipulatives, then you're welcome to do that. The next section here is to actually create the notebook page. And I've gone and given you all of the instructions on how to create the notebook page. And if I felt like it could be a little bit complicated, because if you've never done this before, it may not make sense, I did put a little picture next to some of these as well. For example, this one has kind of a fun artistic style in the sense that the bee is leaving the jar and then flying through all of the story elements, and then the bee is up here in the corner. So it's kind of a cutesy way to go through the story elements. The last portion of all of the teachers' lesson plans is going to be like an extension, an optional extension activity. And it's just going to be a way that you can either reflect on what you just did or do something a little bit more that correlates with that particular activity. And I try to make it kind of fun, and sometimes it's artistic, sometimes it's writing, sometimes it's a science project. So it just kind of depends on what the activity is. In between your teacher's manual and your notebook activity pages is going to be your nonfiction text that correlate with some of the lessons in the activity guide. This particular one for the bee tree, you are going to get a story about bees. This is a nonfiction book just teaching all about bees. And it's full color, so you can print it out. You'll slice it in half, and then you put the pages in order. It's not really listed page 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 because it's generic facts about various topics that when it comes to bees. So you're going to use this in one of your activities, and I'll show you that here in a little bit. Okay? So you're going to get that. Another nonfiction text you're going to get is a state profile for the setting of the book, which takes place in Michigan, as well as a territory profile for a Canadian territory called the Yukon. And this is going to be because one of the characters have just returned from an expedition in the Yukon, so you can talk a little bit about that. This will be another thing that you get in the guide. Now, the next portion of the download is going to be all of your notebook pages, and I put them all together. But to try to help you organize it, what I did is that when you look at your teacher's lesson plan, down in the corner, it's the number lesson plan for that book guide, I guess. Okay, so all of these are numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is the story sequence. It is number 2, which is listed as activity number 2 on your front page, okay? Then when you go to the download, all of the pages that go with that lesson plan will have the correlating number on the bottom. So all of these pages that have a 2 are going to go with this particular activity. Okay, this one is the first one. This is the story sequence. This is what it looks like when you print it out. You can see here on the bottom is the number 2. So when you print it all out, let's say you just hit print and 35 or 42, I think is what it is, pages come out of your printer, you're gonna be like, oh my gosh, I don't even know what all of these pages are. I've tried to make it so that you can then see, okay, 2 goes with 2, goes with 2, all right? 3 goes with 3, goes with 3, so that then you'll be able to see all of that. Okay, all right, now let's look at these notebook pages. When you print out all of your notebook pages, they are gonna obviously come on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, just like this. Now I have tried to write the instructions so that you can see how to print it. Those instructions will be found either in this create the notebook page area or on the actual page itself. For example, this one will teach you like, okay, these are the answers that will go underneath the flaps. Then you're going to get your notebook. Now you have a couple of choices when it comes to building your notebook. You can have your students build their notebooks themselves. If you have a large class, a co-op, or a bunch of neighborhood kids, I would recommend you do it that way because no teacher has enough time to build 20 notebooks. I mean, I've done it because sometimes it's just easier, but if you want to have them have that autonomy, that independence, then for sure have them do it. Personally, I'm doing it with 2 kids this year, so I have to build 2 notebooks, but I like to put all of their pieces in their notebooks before we actually start because it kind of expedites the process of going through the material. If I allow them time to cut all of the pieces and then color all of the pieces and then glue all of the pieces inside their notebook, that's just time out of my day that I don't really want to dedicate. My goal is more the language arts, the science, the history, the learning portion of it. So I actually build my kids' notebooks for them, but you have whatever way you want to do it. Okay. In your download, you're going to have a copy of the book that you can just print out. And then I use that as like the start to the section. You can also get like little sticky notebook tabs and then put those on the end of a page like this. That can be dividers, and then you'll have a bunch of dividers kind of going down this way along with your table of contents so that as you build more book studies, then you'll be able to flip to them quickly when you're having an open house or if you're using it for a portfolio or anything like that. Okay, this is the example for the story elements, but I was going to show you. This is the page. The second activity is the story sequence. See how we did that? So this is the page that is printed, and then we cut them into pieces, and this is the page that we get. You are welcome to do whatever you want, and for these, I've given you 6 stories or 6 pieces to sequence. You can use all 6, or you can take out the 4th or the 3rd and just have first, second, then last. That's completely up to you. This page here is provided answers. If you want to do it that way, then you'll cut out each of these squares and then have your student put them in order under the flap right here. Get a little glue stick and then glue the answers. So that's what this page is for, is to provide some suggested answers if you want to do it that way. Another way that you can do it is to brainstorm with your kids, write it all on the board, put it all in order, and then give them a pencil and have them actually write or draw an example of what that step was. Then they can write it on the front. So for example, you can write, I don't even remember. Oh, Mary Ellen doesn't like to read, I believe is the first one, suggested one. So then you can draw a picture on the front of a book and then write Mary Ellen doesn't like to read. Or you can glue this particular one on the back. Mary Ellen doesn't like to read. Okay, so those are your 2 options. You can then do it opposite and write Mary Ellen doesn't like to read, draw a picture back here of a book or what have you. Okay, lots of different options or ways that you can do it. But I do like to have the kids illustrate something quickly and then either glue or write the answer on the flap. Okay, then you're gonna have all of these flaps finished and it's gonna be super cute. Then the next day or the next activity, you'll go on and do the next one. The next one that you have here is the onomatopoeias, and there are a couple of examples in the book. So again, when you start, You're going to do a discussion and have an activity with your kids. In the lesson guide, it talks about how you can gather a couple of materials or supplies or objects from your home or your classroom or what have you, and have the kids give suggestions of what the sound of that object might be. I really encourage you to find things that are not just animal sounds, because then it makes the kids really start to think. What sound does a globe make when you spin it? What sound does a flag make when it waves in the wind? What sound does a knife make when it's cutting vegetables? So all of these are different examples that you can use. The book has examples, so as you read the story, then you're going to hear how the author said bees sound, the goose sounds, the bike sounds, and the boots sound. Underneath each of these flaps, after you glue them into your books, if I can get it to raise, there we go, then you will have the kid write the name of the onomatopoeia underneath that sound. Then there are 3, of course you can do 3, or you can print 2 copies of this and have the children do 6. These are of their own. So on the front, they can draw a picture of the object, and on the back, they can write what the object is. Or in reverse, you can write the sound that it makes and then draw a picture of what it is. And then you can kind of do a pair and share, where they look at the picture and the kids have to guess, okay, so the sound is clomp, clomp. What is the object that the student was thinking? Oh, it was a pair of boots. Or the sound is flap, flap. What was it that they were thinking? Was it the wings of a bird or a flag in the wind? Then they can draw the picture on the back. So those are just some fun ideas of how you can create an entire lesson or activity around onomatopoeias. The next section here is going to be for geography. In the geography section, I have provided it's a travel brochure is what you're going to be creating with your kid or students if you have more than one. And that is where you're going to use this particular page. So as you are learning about the state of Michigan, you're going to want to have maps on hand so you can point where it's located in the United States. You can also have a YouTube video or some kind of travel log if you want to look at some of the highlights or the locations. For example, Mackinac Island is a very popular place to visit when you're visiting Michigan, and there are a plethora of travel vlogs of Mackinac Island and eating their fudge and taking the carriages and how there are no cars on anywhere on the island. Then you can kind of share those tidbits with your student. Mackinac Island is included in the landmarks here, but you'll see I have 4 kind of tidbits about the state that you can read with your kids. Again, this is a really good opportunity for your older student to guide a discussion or a learning about the state. You can give this to them, prior to the activity, and then say, hey, can you read up on this? And then we're going to, if you would lead a discussion with your younger siblings or the younger students about Michigan. And then when you're getting ready to start, you're going to take your brochure. This is on 2 pages that you'll then print back to back on the short side. And you'll see here that then the kids can draw a picture on the front. And on this one, we've got what is the capital, the state abbreviation, what state number, what date was it established, what is the nickname, and what's the state motto. Most, if not all of that information is going to be found here on this page. What you will not find on the page, which will invite students to learn how to do some research on their own, is going to be this gallery of state symbols. So you need to look up what the state bird, state flower, state animal, and state tree is, and you will have to use the internet or books or any form of resource that you want to do the state symbols as an invitation to teach kids how to do their own research. The natural landmarks are included in the little document, but you're welcome to look up your own. Color where it is on the map, and the state flag. This Michigan's state flag is is a little bit intricate, so the kids can do the best they can, or they can just color it blue and then put a bunch of squiggles in the middle to represent what they've got on that state flag. So that is what you do for the United States. And then for Canada, I have this little piece of paper here. This is just an overview map of Canada's territory, Yukon. And I have the bird and the flower and the official tree on the bottom. This is the map of where it's at. So this is more of just a coloring activity that your students can do while you read about the Yukon territory. This has kind of similar information, location, landmarks, and key facts that go along with this. And then I don't have them here to show you, but I also have a little mini book that talks about Canada symbols that you can do, and then you can glue that kind of on the top here. And I also have a little hunt and find thing that goes with Canada's symbols that you can do with your kids if you want to do that. So those are just 2 additional activities that come in the download. When you look through those, then you'll see that. The next page here is going to be the unit study. All of my book guides are going to have, book study guides are going to have a unit study that kind of correlates with the actual storyline of the book. You'll get 1 mini unit. This mini unit is going to be a science unit about bees. And there's a bunch of different pages that kind of go along with it. Let me show you this part. When you look at the download, and again, all of my downloads are formatted the same, or all of my book study guides are formatted the same. So if you choose to get another one of mine, then you'll kind of get an idea of what you're looking at. But this is going to be all of the pages that are in the actual mini unit. So you've got vocabulary, can have are, all about bees, mini book, and then the facts and opinions. That is what this nonfiction text correlates with. So you can read this with your student multiple times, use it as a resource as you're filling out your pages for the mini unit. So that's what this is. You have your bee vocabulary. You cut out all of the pages, and then I just use a stapler to staple them together, and then you glue down the very last page so that it's stuck in your book. And then this particular one is a page that you can print out, but I just chose to draw it because 1, it added a little more color to my page, and it was easier than using another piece of paper to print on. So save paper, I just drew it on here, but I did actually include a printed page that you can use if you want to do that. So this is bees can have are, and I do have examples in the teacher's manual of things that you can put on here. So there's some examples for that. This is going to be the mini book that goes along with it, and I have instructions on how to actually create this little bee. And I, again, just used a staple. You can see the little staple right there that I used to actually put all the pages together, and then I just glue the very last page onto the paper, and then glue the little wings on. This is black construction paper, but you're welcome to use like a black marker. And then I colored these in black, and then there are eyes that you can print out, or I just cut out and did my own. But this is that cute little one. And then behind each of those, you're gonna get bee facts, buzzy helpers, social and solitary, and then what's my job. There's a couple of them that you can choose from. All of the answers are gonna come from this book. So these 2 kind of go together. As you're reading the book, you can help and direct your kids on filling out the little All About Bees mini book. The next page here is the bees, facts, and opinions. So you get to talk to your kids a little bit about what is a fact and what is an opinion. You will print out the page that comes with it. And then you're going to slice all these. I haven't sliced them yet because I want them to stay together until I actually do it with my kids. But you'll see that you just slice them and create strips of paper. And then your kids will divide. Oh, let's see if I can do this here. Okay, your kids will divide what's a fact and what's an opinion. Okay, and then it just slides right in there. Okay, so you glue it with like a pocket. You're gonna glue your honey pot so that it's all around. Your honey pot actually is gonna look different than mine because I designed it a little bit different when I went and mass produced it for everybody to do, because I felt like these ones are a little bit too big. But then you just put these ones in there, and that's how you're gonna do that page. Okay, and then the last one activity that's gonna be there is your opinion essay. And when you have your opinion essay, the opinion can be whatever you want it to be. But I have suggested the opinion of, do you like bees? So I have a little introduction here, just like I've done on all of the other ones, as well as how you're gonna walk through this assignment with your student. And then I've also added this opinion paper planning page that you can distribute to the kids, and it'll help them kind of organize what is their opinion, 3 reasons why they feel that way, and then a conclusion. I don't have an actual printed page that then you will put in your notebook. So I just use a pen and kind of put a title so that the kids kind of know what page they're working on. And then depending on the age of this student will depend on what this essay actually looks like. The younger kids are going to want to draw a large picture, whether they like or don't like bees, that kind of depicts that feeling. And then maybe they'll have 2 or 3 sentences. I do not like bees because blah, 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 whatever their answer is. So the older students may need to write 5 sentences. Your oldest students may need to write 5 paragraphs. So it's completely up to you. The writing assignment can be used for all of the kids of all of the ages, and it just kind of helps put their thoughts into paper, a skill all of us need to know. So that is the resource that you get. I have to give a huge shout out to my sweet friend from Pineapples and Pencils over in Florida. Kaylee said, I think that you need to do something like this. You need to put it out there so that other people can use it. And I hesitated for a minute because I just was like, I don't really know how to get what's in my brain out on paper. So I spent a lot of time creating this resource, and I really hope that it's valuable to you. If you do me a huge favor, and on Teachers Pay Teachers, if you like the resource, give it a review. That helps my page a little bit, and it helps the product so other people can see it. And if you can help out this YouTube channel, I would really appreciate it if you would like and subscribe. Hit that notification bell if you want to see other videos that I have. I talk all about my homeschooling journey here on our side of the mountain, and I'd love to have you along. Thanks so much for watching this video, and I hope you find value in this resource.